the chiropractic care. So I do have WAVI brain scanning technology. It's an EEG measurement. So we're looking at the electrical activity in the brain. And there's a lot of information that we can gain to see how well the brain is functioning. I do have access to foot level or orthotics. And just FYI, they have a great special going on through the end of March. So if there's anybody that needs a good pair of running orthotics, they've expanded their sports line. So they've got some really great lightweight, flexible orthotics that have really help with the toe off portion of the gait cycle. So tonight we are going to be talking about Dutch tests and eventually some quick silver scientific products. So the Dutch test is an acronym for dried urine test for complete hormones. It's for men or women. But what it does is it shows us a hormone panel for estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It looks at our adrenal hormones, organic acids, which I know that's kind of might be a little bit of an esoteric term, but it helps us to see some nutritional deficiencies and potentially inflammation that could be going on, especially in the brain. The cortisol awakening response, and it looks to see how the hormones are breaking down in the body. So when you get a blood test, it tells you like what kind of levels your hormones are circulating at. The challenge is you might be at a healthy level for your hormones, but you still could be having symptoms of some hormone imbalances. So there will not be a quiz on this, but we're looking at the hormones that are derived from cholesterol, and you can see there's a lot of pathways that help to create more hormones through different enzyme processes throughout the body. So not to overwhelm anybody, but it is a complex process. These are the hormones we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be looking at DHEA, cortisol, testosterone, progesterone, and estrogen. So DHEA, also known as dehydroepiandrosterone, and yes, I had to practice saying that one. That one is made in our adrenal glands, the brain, and the gonads. It actually helps with the production of our testosterone, and then further down the pathways, it helps with estrogen. So if you look at this little dial here on the right, in between the yellow stars, there's the green portion here, and this is the healthy range for DHEA. This range came in at 2365. The DHEA ranges vary with age. So as we get older, those ranges go down. It's actually probably one of the first hormones that we see that takes a little bit of a dip as we mature through life. So DHEA, it's going to help support our muscle and bone health. It helps for fertility, brain and cardiovascular health, and sexual and immune function. When it's low, you can notice fatigue, low libido, depression, inflammation, and then issues with low muscle tone, bone density, and such. So as we go through these, make a little note if you've had some of these symptoms, and you're going to find that there's going to be a recurring theme here. So just kind of keep track of what's going on with some of these hormones. Cortisol, we are probably all familiar with cortisol. So it helps to wake us up in the morning. It prepares us for activity. A lot of us are familiar with that fight or flight syndrome, or it's our survival mechanism. It's actually made in the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys, and it's actually made from progesterone. So that's a very interesting concept, as you'll see a little bit later. So one of the things that the Dutch test measures is something called a cortisol awakening response. So cortisol, like I said, wakes us up in the morning. This green zone is the healthy range for us throughout the day. So when we wake up, this person right here, they woke up, it was smack dab in the middle of the sweet spot here for waking cortisol. Ideally, cortisol should peak 30 minutes after we wake up. and then it's going to drop 60 minutes later, and then it's going to do a gradual descent as we go through the afternoon and into the night. So it should be at its lowest range when we're going to bed. And so that is a healthy cortisol pattern. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes that cortisol awakening response can get a little wonky. So on the left, you'll see a high cortisol awakening response. So the person woke up, their waking cortisol was in a healthy range, but then it skyrocketed at 30 minutes. It came down at 60 like it's supposed to, but it was still a bit elevated. And then by the, afternoon and evening, it was probably more in its healthier range. So when you see that kind of a stress response, you're probably looking at someone who's struggling with extra body fat. They're going to have, especially with women, metabolic syndrome, inflammation, and they actually might be having sleep apnea, which can contribute to the higher cortisol levels. Now, the opposite is happening here on the right. So you have someone who's waking up, their cortisol level is barely in the healthy range. It barely budges 30 minutes after we wake up, and then it drops a little bit, and then it's just a flatter cortisol awakening response. In those situations, you're looking for probably at chronic fatigue, someone who's got high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, chronic stress and burnout, and potentially autoimmune conditions. Now, there's other variations of this cortisol awakening response, but we're not going to go down all those different rabbit holes. But it shows you that that cortisol is very important, and when it's out of whack, it can really wreak havoc on us. I recently had a patient, she was having trouble sleeping, and so we did this assessment with her, and of course her cortisol awakening response was just all over the place. But interestingly enough, her melatonin was great. It was high, and so if you would have just supplemented with melatonin and not seen any changes in symptoms and sleep patterns, this is why, because her cortisol was so out of balance. So cortisol unbalance will result in, we don't have a real high stress tolerance. Again, we're going to have sleep issues, weight gain. In the abdominal area, there are 4 times the amount of receptor sites for cortisol than there are other areas of the body. So usually when people gain weight, that's where they're going to gain it. Tired and wired. So you're tired, you're exhausted, but you lay your head down and your brain is still going. The libido is going to be low. You're going to be experiencing joint pain, depression. You can't focus and concentrate. Your electrolytes are out of balance. And then, of course, then this leads to sexual hormone imbalances. And for women, of course, the glorious PMS and menstrual irregularities, which we all, if you've experienced that, it's not fun. So we're going to move on to testosterone. So testosterone is also derived from progesterone, just like cortisol is, but it also comes from DHEA. So testosterone helps us to build things. So you think about building muscle strength, muscle mass, having stamina, great mood, you're able to maintain a healthy body weight and fertility. And testosterone contributes to healthy estrogen levels. So even though testosterone levels for women are a lot lower, they are still very important to have. So when it's out of balance, well, when testosterone is high, you think about like a boy starting to go through, puberty, but you've got acne and increased body hair and oily skin, and maybe their behaviors start getting a little more aggressive. And for women, you may have known women who go through this. Maybe they have the increased body hair and such. So to me, that's a tip off that maybe their testosterone is out of balance. But when it's low, again, fatigue, low energy, gaining weight, mood issues. So you can see there's starting to be a little bit of a trend here when our hormones are tanking on us. So here's a look at testosterone from the Dutch test. So this is the measurement. This was mine from just 2 months ago. Um, so I was at 6.5. And for my age range, I'm kind of right in the middle there. So that was good. But you can definitely see that the measurements for women are definitely a lot lower than there are for men. And I've known some men that, when they're in their 40s and 50s and, they've gone through a stressful period, testosterone really takes a hit. And sometimes they need to get some testosterone support, and suddenly they're able to start losing weight. They start feeling better, and moods shift and change. And so, testosterone is definitely very important for us overall for both men and women. Progesterone. Okay. This is something that women probably are well familiar with. It's going to help support our sleep, mood, and memory. If progesterone is slightly elevated, it's typically not a problem. It may result in fatigue, increased appetite, irritability, and bloating. And so, for any woman who's had, some bloating right before their menstrual cycle starts, it's because aldosterone, the hormone that helps us to retain fluids, uses the same receptor sites on the cells as progesterone. So you've got all these hormones wanting these receptor sites. And so the body just creates more of them. So then you've got more of these floating around in the cells. It may be considered low when compared to estrogen. Your progesterone might be in a healthy range, but if estrogen is elevated, then you're going to have an estrogen dominant situation. So when it's low, here we go again. You got your fatigue, anxiety, irritability, we're gaining weight, we're muscle tension. When we look at breast tenderness, heavy bleeding, and the PMS, that's usually when estrogen is elevated quite significantly above progesterone. So you can see that women especially need progesterone. It is the first hormone that tanks when we start to hit perimenopause. So when you see a woman and things start shifting and with these characteristics, that's probably one of the reasons why. So this again here is looking at the levels of progesterone. Again, the green in between the two stars is the healthy range. And then you have this down here in the purple, which is substandard. So surprisingly enough, this was my progesterone level recently. And so we had some work to do, and so with some good supplementation and some things that we're changing up, working on getting that back in some better balance, and it definitely has been improving. So estrogen, it's derived from testosterone. Again, like testosterone, it's responsible for our growth, building muscle, bone, collagen synthesis. So when that starts to become erratic, then we start to see, our skin reflect the lack of collagen. But we're looking at, healthy skin and supporting our healthy moods and our libido. But when estrogen is high, it can wreak havoc on us in a different way. So for women, you're looking at heavy bleeding, maybe fibroids, cramping, the tender breasts, your moods, headaches, fatigue, weight gain. So I've known several women with fibroids, and now that I know what I know, I feel like I can be like, there's some things that we need to check out, and be open to having a conversation with any woman who's having that experience. Low estrogen, okay, things start to go south here. So then this is the hot flashes, the dreaded hot flashes. So we're not sleeping well. The sex drive changes. So the skin is getting thinner. Sometimes we end up with the bladder leakage, and you think that's a myth when you haven't experienced that, and it actually does happen, and there's a reason for it, which we'll get into a little bit later. So what I wanted to look at is that estrogen is kind of a more complicated uh, hormone. It actually has three different types. This estradiol, this is what you see in typical blood work. So this is what is circulating um, in the body, and it gets measured. But then what happens is in the liver, it breaks down into estrone and estriol. And the liver is where it's going to deactivate the estrogen. So it makes it, it takes them from fat soluble to water soluble. And there are certain pathways that the estrogen can go down. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. The Dutch test helps us to see very specifically how those are breaking down and are they in the correct percentages or ratios to the other estrogens. What's nice about it is if it's breaking down into a pathway that is potentially harmful, we want to know that. That potentially bad pathway can mutate DNA, and that can contribute to breast cancer. Now, I'm not saying that this is how we diagnose it and oh my gosh, you're going to get breast cancer if you don't do this, but it definitely throws up a red flag. And so we can actually do some supplementation to help turn that pathway around so that it's going down a more productive pathway. So then the liver will actually take all of the broken down estrogen, it will package it up, it will put a pretty little bow on it. It's going to send it to the small intestines, and then it'll go to the colon where it will be eliminated from the body. Okay. So we'll come back to some of that detoxification in a little bit. Hormone imbalance is caused by a lot of things. So we're exposed to inflammation based on the foods that we eat, stress, poor sleep, our age. We have environmental toxins that we're exposed to, so pesticides, herbicides, maybe it's the laundry detergent or other things that we're exposed to. A lot of us, our food, excuse me, food quality, it's not as organic as we like to think. A lot of people out there, they're eating a lot of processed foods. We can have digestive issues that contribute to hormone imbalance. This can lead to impaired detoxification, and then overexercising with poor recovery can also lead to hormone imbalance. So, what is one to do? Well, we are going to look at first the different ages of which for women, when do things start to shift? So early perimenopause can begin as early as 40 years old to 45. In this phase, estrogen is really up and down. It's erratic. It's really hard to test during this phase, but it's nice to get at least a baseline. The progesterone, the DHEA, and testosterone really start to plummet. And so usually when women start to feel that, oh my gosh, I'm gaining weight, things are changing, I need to exercise more, and that can create even more of a hormone disruption, especially with the DHEA and cortisol. And then we get to transition into menopause if we're lucky. Typical age for that is 51. Cortisol becomes elevated, and then now estrogen is going to join the ranks of testosterone and progesterone. And then post-menopause, well, that's looking at women in their 60s. So we're going to go back now to the detoxification portion of this. So impaired detoxification. So the body detoxifies itself through the liver and pushing things, waste products out through the colon, through the kidneys, so we urinate out, and then sweating through the skin. So you're going to look at this list of different symptoms of impaired detoxification. So you're looking at anxiety, depression, chronic fatigue, you're looking at weight gain, joint and muscle pain, autoimmune conditions. And so there's a lot of overlap with hormone imbalances. So, one way to tackle this sort of thing that is really beneficial, kind of from a global perspective in the body, is to start with something called a push catch detoxification protocol. So this is a really great way to do a little bit of spring cleaning for your body. It contains two things that you have to take. One is a liver sauce. It's got some liver-friendly bitter herbs, milk thistle, dim, which is really important for estrogen metabolism, and quercetin, which really helps the immune system to not freak out while it's detoxifying. So what's really nice with this is that the liver sauce, you just take it orally. It it doesn't taste bad. I mean, I wouldn't put it on ice cream or pancakes or anything like that, but it's a pretty good tasting sauce. And then what you do is you wait 30 minutes and then you're going to follow it up with this ultra binder. So the ultra binder has a lot of great ingredients that really help to capture those toxins. So what happens is the liver, dumps it all. And what can happen if there's nothing to bind the toxins to, the toxins will end up being reabsorbed. And so a lot of times people do a detox and they have headaches and they feel nauseated and they feel like crap, and that's because the body's dumping toxins, but the toxins aren't going anywhere except back into the body. So this ultra binder really helps to basically give those toxins a police escort out of the body. Now, I will be honest, it's got activated charcoal and bentonite clay in it. It is as black can be, and you need to drink a lot of water with it. But it doesn't even have a taste to it. And what's nice is it's a slightly chalky, but it's very, very tolerable. So for people who probably have a lot of health issues going on, maybe they're really struggling, there's an advanced push catch detoxification. It does include the liver sauce and the ultra binder, but then it adds in support for the kidneys. So the kidneys are going to help support not just kidneys, but it's going to provide support for lymphatic drainage. So for the people who, the lymphatic drainage is very slow and stagnant, it's going to help support that. The membrane mend, what it does is it helps to get into the cell and clean things out. It can help with reducing some inflammation and sensitivities. It's really helpful for people who have maybe some irritations from Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. And then you're throwing in some glutathione, which also is able to get into the cells and help with the detoxification process. And then you follow it up with that ultra binder, and things can really, really start to clean out. I did the push catch earlier this year, and it's easy. Started to notice after a couple of days that the little poochie belly was not as dense as it was, and so that was what was really, really great to see, that it's really working well without a lot of disruption to your daily lifestyle routine. So what's great about this detox is that it's flexible. So you do 5 days on, 2 days off. You can do 10 days on or 4 days off. So you can kind of choose. So you are on the products for 20 days out of the month. So if you're going away for a long weekend, you can, take a break. It's beneficial to drink a lot of water. A healthy diet is good. I'm sure with a lot of triathletes, your diets are probably impeccable. But if someone's eating, Fruit Loops with chocolate milk and following it up with a Diet Coke for breakfast, then we're going to have to make some dietary changes. But you don't have to go and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on leafy green vegetables and all kinds of craziness. I did a detox several years ago, and days 5, 6, and 7 were leafy greens, organic apples, organic pears, and you could probably have some avocados. I was so sick of pears. I don't even like pears. And it was just a lot of work to plan everything around the detox. And here's the other thing, you don't have to go hungry. Nobody likes to be hungry when they're detoxing. So the reason I love this Quicksilver scientific program is because they've actually cracked the nut on how to get into the cells so that the nutrients, the products are absorbed. Okay, it has a nanoparticle delivery system. Now, that might not mean anything to you, but it basically means those particles are so small, 20 to 70 nanometers or nanometers, if you want to, however you want to say it. They're able to seep in through the cell wall and actually be absorbed. So a lot of products are probably around 200 to 600 nanometers, and so a lot of it's not absorbed. So what happens with some of these products, you'll notice if you take them, they might be at a lower rate, like lower milligram dosage than some other products, but their absorption rate is so much higher that you don't actually need as much. So most of their products are a liquid or a topical. So this is just kind of a view of, this is more of the women's protocol products. So there's the DHEA. So for me, as a 53-year-old woman, kind of in middle perimenopause, I've started taking the DHEA tonic here, and then I've paired it with progesterone. The progesterone, this is a topical product, uses the same nanoparticle technology, but just in a cream. And so it actually, any of these topical hormones actually get into the transdermal layers of the skin, and that means that they get into the blood circulation where they're actually absorbed. I will say this estriol product right here, for women who may be having issues with urinary tract infections or that bladder leakage that nobody wants to talk about. This is a really great product because it helps to support the tissues in the pelvic floor. There's a couple other things I wanted to share. They have something called performance cardio. And basically, this is a great product for vasodilation. So it's going to enhance blood circulation. Not only does it enhance blood flow, it widens up the blood vessels, so you're getting better blood flow, but it's also going to be therapeutic for the inside of the blood vessel, where normally if there's inflammation and such, it's going to help soothe that. So it really helps with just increasing blood flow, which is, even if you're not an athlete, it can be really helpful. They've got a couple of great products for stress resilience. So maybe someone just is, feeling like they're needing a little bit of oomph. This Nano Mojo is a men's product, and the Thrivogen is the female product. And basically, it's some adaptogenic herbs that you can take to help support your energy levels. Basically, I'm a sponsor with the My Tri group. So thanks to Jen Casey for that introduction. You are able to get any of the Quicksilver products 10% off. The Dutch test for any sort of hormone testing and whatnot, that is also a 10% discount. And there's different Dutch tests available. So it's really, would be great to have a conversation with someone to make sure that we're doing things individualized to them and not just a, generic recommendation. For anybody who's looking for chiropractic care, I do accept Blue Cross Blue Shield. I'm a network with Priority Health, United Healthcare, Veteran Affairs. So any questions, comments? I don't know if I just blew through this and just sort of uh, snowballed anyone, or if there's any comments from the group. There might not be. Okay. So just to recap, so a lot of athletes, when you're training, your DHEA levels can become low, cortisol can become low. There's actually some evidence from a Japanese literature that DHEA, this is a great little nugget, can turn off some of the genetics that contribute to the formation of Alzheimer's disease in men and women. So what it does is it helps to enlarge the hippocampal volume, which is the area of the brain that is responsible for memories. So that is a really great thing to supplement with. And trying to see anything else. I think we've all the major parts.
Can you hear me, Doug?
Hi, Kurt. I'm assuming that's you.
No, that was Doug trying to talk.
Oh, Doug. I'm sorry, Doug.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I kind of can.
Okay. Am I supposed to be doing something different?
Yeah, you're coming through very scattered. Sorry. Can you text your message?
Yeah, where do I go to do that?
There should be a control panel that shows up on the screen, and then there's a closed chat, or there's a chat option. Because your audio is coming through very crackly. Can you see it?
Okay.
So, Doug, if you're still there and you move your mouse in front of the screen, it should show a control panel down towards the bottom. And one of the options down there is a chat.
So Jordan's comment is that there's a big issue. Cortisol is a big issue for type A on the go athletes who are always training hard and trying to manage so much. I know. So that's, I think, where the nano mojo and the thrivogen can really come into play and help people just balance things out. So I know you guys all get hit up with a lot of different supplements and such, and I just want to say thank you for allowing me to share these incredible products, because I am very skeptical of a lot of them, and so it's nice to find something that actually works.
Well, I think that's one of the key messages here, is that we do get bombarded with many secret weapons out there and must use this. And I'm always apprehensive of ingredients. And if I can't read it, I pretty much stay away from it.
Right. Exactly. And I have someone in my life who's like, oh, you need a vasodilator. Well, take this. I was taking this, and I'm looking at it, and it's a capsule, and it has one of the ingredients of this performance cardio that I now have a bottle of. And so just comparing ingredients, if there's a lot of stuff you don't really know. I mean, sometimes you have a lot of herbs that you're not even sure what they are because they're Chinese herbs and whatnot. But there's just a lot of testing done with these products, and because they have the ability to actually get into the cells and do some work and clean things out and balance them out. Um, oh,
Doug found a way to chat.
okay.
All right,
Okay,
Doug.
yay, Doug. When detoxing, are you still be able to eat regularly? I'm totally new to the idea of detoxing. Yes, you eat regularly, and that's what's beautiful about this program. You do have to do like the liver sauce, let's say in the morning, and you take a teaspoon of it, and then you follow it up 30 minutes later with the ultra binder. So you drink the black powder mixed with water. And then you just wait another 30 minutes and then you can eat. And then you do the same thing later in the day. Um, so you want to, if you're taking medication, you want to take it away from medication. But other than that, it's a very easy way to integrate some detoxing without disrupting your life. I mean, that's what's so nice. Um, and what is involved with doing the Dutch test? That is a very good question, Doug. You're just full of great questions. So, uh, the Dutch test is a urine sample test. So they do 4 to 5 urine assessments throughout the day. It's it's a way again to measure the metabolites in the body. If you're looking for the cortisol awakening response, then it's a saliva measurement. And so you have these little cotton cubes, if you will, that you just soak in your mouth and get it saturated with your saliva. And you do that upon waking up in the morning before you really even get out of bed. 30 and 60 minutes later, you put them in the freezer. And then, the next day or so, when you're ready, you package it all up and you mail it off. They make it very easy for you to do it. It's a at-home collection, so you don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to pick your finger, anything like that. And so, um, yeah, it's pretty simple. And I've done this one twice already, and it's interesting to see the changes in a year. I had some estrogen pathways that were not completely out of whack, but there was a little like, ooh, I don't like where things are going on this one potentially bad pathway. And so I did some supplementation with magnesium glycinate and a product called DIM, which is an abbreviation for something I can't pronounce, but it's basically like cruciferous vegetables on steroids. So that really helps to drive the healthy pathways. And so it was great to see that change. But then it spurred me to go, okay, I need to, for myself, focus on the DHEA and progesterone at this point. Everyone's going to be a little different. So, but it's pretty cool to see how everything is breaking down.
So these are real world tests that I don't have to go to a doctor.
Well, you have to come to me, but I'm not gonna I'm not gonna administer the test for you. Um, but the urine testing is the oldest form of hormone testing, and so it's pretty reliable. Um, so it's been very helpful for me
And
and other
is there a
people.
way to translate some of this into how can I increase my VO2 max?
Um, wow, that would probably, I would say, starting with like the cardio performance, or excuse me, performance cardio. So this is the vasodilator. So what you
Yeah,
could
that piqued
do,
my interest.
okay, it's but sometimes, with all the training that you do, and maybe like in the peak of season, it's not the best time to
Sure.
do a detoxification. But you can help with some VO2 max. Let's try to get the blood flow going. In my office, we also measure heart rate variability, so in a rested state, and so we can see are you stressed out that way? How is that functioning? And take that as a measurement as well. Uh,
Very good.
okay. All right. Is it wise to do the detoxing routinely, and if so, how frequently? Actually, the detox you could actually do it like on a regular basis. I mean, you can do like the 1 month, and then maybe you just do it gradually. Maybe you do it a couple days a week. Um, it's something you definitely can do on an ongoing basis. But for some people, that's not really practical. Twice a year would be pretty darn good. Maybe doing it as your season is winding down, which I don't know when that is for all y'all, if you're going hard all year long, or if, come November, December, things taper off a little bit before you get ready for, the next Ironman or marathon.
Yeah, when you get into November, races start to come to an end.
Right.
Most people have families and holidays start to take
Holidays.
precedence, and
Yeah.
then January and February is just somewhat of an abyss.
Okay.
So
Right.
it's a good time to,
Yep. It's a good time.
for me, it's always a good time to make sure I see the doctor in the fall after the season is over,
Mhm.
just to
Mhm.
see where my body's at. Am I lacking anything?
Right.
So it sounds like this is a great time to do that as well.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, some people might want to do something right now, and that's fine. And sometimes it's like, well, it would be great, but I want to, later in the season would be more beneficial. So either way is fine. Um, so just have, some great things that I think will help keep us all young. So that's why the DHEA is very, very important, and even for non-athletes. So I can tell you, when we're healthier, disease does not have a chance to set in.
Well,
So,
and the other thing I heard too, besides the VO2 max, which would be attractive to any of us,
mhm,
at least it should be, um,
mhm.
was the tired and wired.
Right.
So training can get to you, and I can be worn out, and then I can go to bed, and I've got nothing, but I got to think about all the work calls and all the work stuff I got to do, and all the other stuff I got to do. And I just can't get that madness to stop.
Right. And you want to get paid for working in your sleep.
Right.
So, yeah, we need to be able, because if you're not resting well, that's when your body heals. I mean, I'm probably preaching to the choir on that, but we need to get into that rested state. Um, and that's the thing about the heart rate variability that can give me an idea of, like, are you in a dominant sympathetic state, or are you balanced in a sympathetic parasympathetic? Are you able to respond to stress and then be able to come out of it and recover? Um, back in my former life, before I was a massage therapist, I worked in a corporate fitness center, and we did fitness testing and VO2 max. And so I did submaximal bike testing. So long time ago.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, all righty. Doug, do you have any more questions? Jordan? If not, I thank you. Thanks, Kurt. I appreciate you setting this. Okay. But appreciate you setting everything up for me, and giving you the chance to chat with everyone tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be recorded. So once the recording is all finished, I'll make sure it gets posted, and we'll email it out to the group as well, so they can watch it and get you some feedback if
Okay.
those are interested.
Okay. Sounds great. All
All
right.
right.
Everybody have a good night.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.